Welcome back to the deep dive. Tonight, we're doing something a little different. We're turning down the lights, maybe lighting a candle or two, because the material we are covering today has a very specific vibe to it. It's relaxed, it's intimate, and honestly, it's just a little bit chilling.
It really is. It's got that late night, gathered around the campfire kind of energy.
Yeah.
We're stepping back in time tonight. We're going to a Monday night, June 14th, 1965.
Specifically, we are stepping into a living room in Elmira, New York. And before we get too comfortable in the furniture of the past or get lost in the smoke of the 1960s, we need to handle our official business.
Right. The housekeeping.
Exactly. The source material we're unpacking today is session 162 of the Early Sessions, Book 4 of the Seth Material, recorded on that very date, June 14, 1965.
And we should also mention right up front, for everyone tuning in, that this deep dive is distributed completely free of charge. It's on all major platforms, and it's for educational purposes. We're here to learn, to explore, and to question the nature of reality as it's presented in these documents.
Exactly. We aren't selling a lifestyle here. We're exploring a document. So picture this. You're sitting in this living room. It's 1965. There are 5 people sitting in a circle. And in the center, in her favorite Kennedy rocker, which is such a specific detail, right?
It really is. It puts you right there.
Is a woman named Jane Roberts. And she is about to do something pretty extraordinary. She is about to let a disembodied entity named Seth speak through her.
And what makes this session so fascinating and maybe, really relevant to everyone listening right now is the topic Seth decides to tackle.
Right.
He isn't talking about the cosmos or the origin of the universe, not at first. He starts with something much, much closer to home.
He really does.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, and I'm asking our listener this too right now. Have you ever woken up with a stiff neck? Or maybe you got that nagging stomach ache that just, it won't go away.
Oh, yeah. I think we all have. I mean, most of us reach for the aspirin, or we blame the mattress, or we think we ate something bad.
Okay, but have you ever thought that maybe, just maybe, that stiff neck or that stomach ache wasn't just bad luck or a bad pillow? Have you ever considered that it might actually be an artistic creation? A sculpture, if you will, crafted by your own subconscious?
That is the hook. That is the entire premise we're dealing with today. In this session, Seth isn't just giving vague spiritual advice or telling people to think positive. He's explaining the mechanics, literally the physics and biology of how we dream our physical bodies into existence.
It's such a wild concept. So we're going to unpack the connection between the inner self and physical matter. We're going to look at the real estate of the dream world, which, spoiler alert, is apparently just as real as the street you live on.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to understand one of the most mind-bending definitions of consciousness I have ever heard. That consciousness is just the direction in which the self looks.
It challenges our whole perception of reality. It challenges the boundaries we put on ourselves. It suggests we aren't just living in a body. We are continuously creating it.
It's an active process.
It's an active process, not a passive one.
So settle in. We are going to Elmira. We're going to 1965. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so to really get the chilling vibe of this session, we have to understand the atmosphere. This isn't a lecture hall.
Yeah.
This isn't a church. This is a domestic living room. It's cozy, but there's this, this electric charge in the air.
Right. It's 9:00 p.m. And the notes, Rob Lutz's notes, they specify that traffic noise isn't a problem tonight. There are no interruptions. It's really intimate.
You can just picture it.
You can imagine the hum of a refrigerator in the other room, maybe the crickets outside, but inside it's just focused.
And the seating arrangement, that matters. Seth, speaking through Jane, he specifically requested a circle.
Which is interesting in itself, right? A circle implies equality, connection. It focuses the energy like a lens. It's very traditional in seance lore, but here it just seems practical. It contains the energy they're generating.
And in this circle, you have Jane Roberts, her husband Ruburt Butts, who Seth calls Joseph.
Right.
And 3 witnesses. We have Lorraine Schaefer, who was a shorthand expert there to capture every single word, and a couple named Bill and Peg Gallagher.
Now, Jane is in the rocker, and the notes from Ruburt Butts describe her transition into the trance state as active. This isn't someone just falling asleep or meditating peacefully.
No, not at all. She closes her eyes, but her voice becomes strong. It becomes active. She's leaning forward in the rocker, elbows on her knees, gesturing wildly. Her hands are clasped. She's moving. It's dynamic. It's almost athletic.
And the speed.
Right.
Rob notes that the session was extremely fast. He actually had to ask her to slow down at one point because she was talking so rapidly he couldn't keep up with the notes.
Wow.
It creates the sense of urgency, of information just rushing through her like water through a burst dam.
But here is the detail that really got me. The detail that sends a little shiver down the spine.
Okay.
The witnesses, and Jane herself later, they detected something specific in her voice. A hint of a brogue.
An Irish accent.
Yes, an Irish accent. Now hold on. Why on earth would a non-physical entity named Seth, who claims to have lived countless lives and is basically pure energy, suddenly sound like an old Irish priest?
Well, the notes actually give us a clue here, and it's a fascinating look at how channeling might actually work. It's reminiscent of a father trainer.
Who is that?
He was an old Irish priest who used to read poetry to Jane when she was younger.
So wait, let's unpack that. Is Seth pretending to be a priest?
Yeah.
Is this a performance? Or is Jane's subconscious filtering this entity through a familiar persona?
It's a complex question, and one the session notes touch on. It suggests it's related to high psychic activity. It's almost like when the energy is that high, the personality bleeds through the medium's own memories and associations. It adds this whole other layer of strangeness to the thing. It reminds us that this is a complex interaction between an entity and a human host. It's not just a clean radio signal. It's a biological translation.
So the brogue is like static on the line.
Yeah, but static shaped by Jane's history.
It paints quite a picture. You have this woman rocking back and forth, gesturing wildly, speaking in a rapid-fire voice with a ghostly Irish lilt in a quiet living room in 1965. It's theatrical, but it feels authentic to the moment.
And immediately, Seth doesn't waste time with pleasantries. He welcomes the guests, sure, but then he zeroes in. He targets the physical health of the people in that room.
He goes right for the jugular.
Yeah.
Or in this case, the stomach and the neck.
All right. He addresses Joseph Robb and then focuses on Bill Gallagher.
Poor Bill. He probably just came for a nice evening of spooky talk, maybe a drink, and suddenly his ulcer is the center of attention.
I know, right?
Can you imagine? Welcome to the seance. Let's talk about your gastric acid.
But this is where the philosophy starts. Seth uses Bill's condition to make this massive point. He says, and this is a quote, "The physical organism reflects vividly and with perfection the innermost state of the human personality."
Let's unpack that. Reflects vividly and with perfection. That's a really strong choice of words.
Yeah.
He's saying the body isn't making mistakes.
Exactly. We tend to think of illness or pain as something going wrong, a breakdown of the machine. My stomach is acting up, we say, as if the stomach has a mind of its own and is misbehaving.
Mm-hmm.
Seth is arguing the opposite. He's saying the body is functioning perfectly as a mirror.
A mirror.
Yes. Just as the political structure of a planet reflects the innermost neuroses of the collective people, which is a whole other deep dive, your body reflects your personal inner state.
That is heavy. So if the world is crazy, it's because we are crazy inside. And if my stomach hurts,
it's because there is a distortion inside you, an emotional or psychological knot that is being projected outward into physical matter. The body is just the screen where the movie of your mind is playing.
And Seth says, we create physical matter on a subconscious basis. I love this quote. You create physical matter as effortlessly and as smoothly and as automatically and as unknowingly as you create your own dreams.
That is the key connection. We don't sit there and think, oh, okay, I need to build a stomach cell now.
Right, time to pump some blood.
I need to secrete enzymes. It happens automatically. Seth puts creating the physical body in the same category as dreaming. It's a creative act that happens below the level of the conscious ego.
Okay, so let's talk about Bill's ulcer. Seth calls it a distortion. But he explained how it persists, and that's the scary part.
Right. He says that when there's a psychological or psychic problem, the organic perfection gets disturbed. But here's the really insidious part. He calls it the vicious circle.
Oh, I highlighted this in my notes. This explains so much about chronic illness.
It does. Seth explains that once you create the ulcer subconscious, based on stress or inner conflict or a refusal to digest a certain truth, the ego, your conscious self, notices it. You feel the pain. You get the diagnosis. And then the ego accepts the ulcer as part of the self-image.
You become the guy with the ulcer.
Precisely. You identify with it.
Yeah.
And because you identify with it, you automatically recreate it over and over and over again. You are literally maintaining the illness because it has become part of who you think you are.
That's terrifying, actually. But it makes so much sense. How many people do we know who almost wear their ailments like a badge? Oh, my bad back, my weak stomach.
It becomes a personality trait.
Yeah.
It's a feedback loop. The inner distortion creates the physical symptom. The physical symptom convinces the ego it's real. The ego reinforces the inner distortion. Round and round it goes. The ulcer becomes a permanent resident because you keep renewing its lease.
And it wasn't just Bill. Lorraine, or Marleno, as Seth calls her by her entity name, she had a stiff neck that night.
A temporary distortion, Seth calls it. Not organic yet. But he warns that a temporary distortion can become permanent if the conditions persist.
And then he drops this hammer of a line. You are exactly what you think you are, and every thought is mirrored in the physical matter of the human organism.
You are exactly what you think you are. It sounds like a motivational poster you'd see in a break room, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
But Seth means it literally, physically. Your cells are listening to your thoughts.
But he is careful to say this isn't magic, right?
Yeah.
That's important for our skeptics listening. This isn't some fairy dust.
Yes, that is crucial. He says, this does not happen by some sort of occult magic. It is not the result of some mumbo-jumbo. He frames it as electrical translation.
Electrical translation. That sounds more like engineering than spirituality.
It is engineering. It's biological engineering. He talks about thoughts having electrical components. The subconscious translates these electrical thought patterns into physical cells. It's physics, it's biology. It's just physics and biology we don't fully understand yet.
I love the idea that I might be accidentally printing a headache because I'm sitting here stewing about something. Like my brain is a 3D printer and my anxiety is the filament.
That is essentially what he is saying. If you hold long-standing distorted concepts, there is an automatic flow of energy into a false disruptive pattern. You are 3D printing your own neuroses into your biology.
Okay, so we've printed the ulcer, we've printed the stiff neck. How do we unprint it? How do we stop the press?
This is where Seth offers the cure. And it's surprisingly actionable. It's not about taking a pill, and it's not even about positive thinking in a superficial sense.
He says you have to change the concepts. But how? That feels so much easier said than done.
He says the moment you attempt to search the inner self for the answer, you release energy for a constructive purpose.
Just the attempt. I don't need to, solve all my childhood trauma immediately.
Just the attempt, the act of looking inward, the act of asking, why am I creating this, implies that you are creating it.
Yeah.
It shifts the power back to you. It breaks the identification with the illness. You stop being the victim of the ulcer and start being the investigator of the ulcer.
And the phrase he uses is so vivid. He says you begin to starve the ulcer of its energy.
I love that image. The ulcer needs your distorted energy to survive. It needs your validation. If you turn your attention inward to find the root cause, you are cutting off the supply line to the illness. You are redirecting that electrical vitality back into constructive channels.
So you're starving the problem by feeding the solution.
Exactly. It's an energy economy. You're defunding the illness department to fund the research department.
So the first half of the session is all about the body. The body is a dream we create in physical space. But then, after a break.
And notice in the notes, during the break, Lorraine says her neck feels better and Bill's ulcer has quieted down.
Wow, the power of suggestion. Or did the energy actually shift in the room?
Maybe a bit of both. But after the break, Seth comes back and he totally shifts gears. He takes us from the physical body to the real estate of the mind.
Right.
He starts talking about the dream universe.
And he drops a bombshell. He says the dream universe is as permanent and valid as the physical universe.
This is a radical idea. We usually think of dreams as fleeting, chaotic, unreal. It was just a dream, we say, dismissing it.
Sure.
Seth says no. You construct the dream universe in the same way you construct the physical one.
And then he gives us this definition. I want everyone to really listen to this one. He says, consciousness is the direction in which the self looks.
It's one of the most profound statements in the entire material. Think about a spotlight. The spotlight is the self. The beam of light is consciousness.
Okay.
If you shine it on the physical world, you are awake. If you turn the spotlight and shine it on the inner world, you are dreaming. But the things you aren't looking at don't just stop existing.
Right. Just because I turn my flashlight away from the tree doesn't mean the tree disappears. It just means I'm not looking at it.
Exactly. Seth argues that when we sleep, the ego quiets down and the self simply looks in a different direction. The dream world has its own molecular and electrical construction. It's real. We just can't tune into it with our waking ego because we're on the wrong channel.
He challenges our idea of space, too. He asks a very simple question. Where is the street you walk on in a dream?
It's a great question. You close your eyes. You're walking down a street in a dream. You see miles of road. You walk for an hour. Where are those miles?
They aren't inside my skull. My skull is small. It's crowded enough in there with my grocery list and song lyrics from 1998.
Miles contained within the small skull. Seth kind of mocks the idea. Obviously not. So where are they?
He calls it the value climate of psychological reality.
Yes, the value climate. He's suggesting that space in a dream is a superimposed value created by the self. It's not physical space as we know it. It's not made of atoms in the way a brick is, but it's a valid medium for experience.
It's like, okay, imagine a video game. The world in the game has miles and miles of terrain, but it doesn't exist inside the console physically. It exists as code. It exists as a value structure.
That's a really good analogy. And Seth takes it a step further. He challenges the idea of empty space in our physical world, too. He says, where you perceive nothing, you presume to call empty space, but where you perceive nothing, there is much.
We just can't tune into it.
Right. We are tuned to a specific frequency, this physical camouflage system. But the dream world is just another frequency, another station on the dial. Just because you're listening to 98.5 FM doesn't mean a 101.5 FM stops broadcasting. It's all there, all the time.
So we have the body as a mirror. We have dreams as a parallel reality. Now, Seth starts to peel back the layers of the person having these experiences. He gives us the onion theory of the personality.
He uses an analogy, and he admits it's simplified, but it helps us visualize the structure of the self. Because if we are creating our bodies and walking through dream streets, who is doing all that?
Okay, let's walk through the layers of the onion.
First, you have the outer ego. That's the part of you listening to this deep dive. The part that deals with the physical world, pays taxes, and remembers to buy milk.
Layer 1, check. The me I think I am. The name on my driver's license.
Then you go inward. You hit the subconscious areas. The first layer of that deals with your personal self, your repressed memories, your fears, your hidden desires.
The stuff we work on in therapy. The messy closet where we throw the things we don't want to look at.
Exactly. But go deeper. The next layer deals with past lives.
The history of the soul.
Then deeper still, material dealing with the species as a whole, the collective unconscious, essentially, the history of humanity.
So we are carrying all of this around.
According to Seth, yes. It's all encoded in us. And then a layer he calls undifferentiated.
What does that even mean?
It likely refers to the raw energy of being. The point where individuality starts to blur into the universal, the pure stuff of the universe before it decides to be you.
And then, at the very, very center.
The inner ego.
The inner ego. Not the outer ego.
No. He describes it as the face that looks inward. Just as the outer ego looks outward at the physical world, the inner ego looks inward at spiritual reality.
That's fascinating. We're this double-faced entity. One face looking at matter, one face looking at spirit. And the subconscious is the bridge between them.
And Seth really pushes back against the idea that we are contained by our skin. He kind of mocks the whole idea of boundaries.
He says the ego cannot make your heart beat. Why then do you find it difficult to believe that you are more than the ego?
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? You are not running the show. You aren't beating your heart. You aren't growing your hair. You aren't digesting your lunch.
You aren't knitting your bones back together after a break.
Exactly. Something else is, a deeper part of you.
And he talks about the fluid boundaries of the body. He says chemicals and air enter us, parts of us leave through pores. We are constantly exchanging with the environment.
He says we are action camouflaged as physical matter. We think we are solid objects, but we are really events. We are processes.
Like a whirlpool in a river.
That's it. The water is constantly flowing through it, new water in, old water out, but the form of the whirlpool persists. We are the whirlpool. We aren't the water.
Whoa, that is a great way to put it. We are the pattern, not the stuff.
Exactly. And that pattern extends into dreams, into past lives, into the collective. The skin is just an arbitrary line we decided to draw.
So the session starts to wind down. Seth has blown everyone's mind. He's diagnosed ulcers, redefined space and time, and peeled apart the human soul.
And Jane is exhausted.
The notes say she was wound up. She felt Seth was still around.
And this leads to a really charming moment. Seth comes back for a quick summary, a sort of encore.
And this is where we see the personality of the entity. He isn't just a cold computer of wisdom. He's funny.
He jokes about shivering in his boots.
Yes. He says if he dared suggest Jane work too hard giving 3 sessions a week, he would shiver in his boots because she would protest so much.
It totally humanizes him. Or personifies him, I guess. He respects Jane. He's considerate of her physical limits. He knows she's the boss of her own body.
And he admits something interesting about the guests. He says he uses them as practice.
Practice for Jane. He says having witnesses helps prepare her to speak to larger groups of strangers in the future. He's training her.
It's like public speaking boot camp, but from the other side of reality.
And then the life advice. I love this part. It's so unexpected.
Me too. You have this profound spiritual teacher, this entity from beyond space and time, giving advice on how to spend a Saturday night.
He tells Rob and Jane not to spend their Saturday nights doing seances.
Don't sit around talking to ghosts.
He tells them to go dancing.
Go dancing.
It's such perfect advice. He's saying, look, the spiritual world is great. Exploring the inner self is vital. But you are physical right now. Enjoy it. Move your body. Listen to music. Be with people.
It grounds the whole thing. It stops it from becoming this dour, serious, obsessive thing. The goal of spiritual growth isn't to escape life.
Yeah.
It's to live it more fully.
Keep dreaming, sure, but also keep dancing. You have to balance the inner and the outer.
So let's bring this all together. What have we learned from this trip to 1965?
We've learned that the body is a mirror. We build it subconsciously, just like we build our dreams. An ulcer isn't just a sore, it's a bad idea made physical, a distortion we've identified with.
We've learned that the cure is to look inward, to starve the problem of its energy by seeking the truth of ourselves.
We've learned that dreams are real places, valid realities, just tuned to a different frequency. Consciousness is the direction in which the self looks.
And we've learned that we are onions. Layers upon layers of ego, subconscious, past lives, and species memory, all centered around an inner ego that looks back at the source.
And finally, we learned that we should go dancing on Saturday nights.
Cannot forget the dancing.
It's a dense session. It really challenges us to take responsibility for our reality, both our physical health and our mental environment.
It does. And I want to leave our listener with a thought, a little homework, if you will.
Let's hear it.
If your physical environment is just a reflection of your inner state, look around the room you are in right now. Really look at it. That pile of laundry in the corner, that organized bookshelf, the lighting, the clutter.
What does it say about the current state of your inner ego?
Is your room a masterpiece? Or is it a distortion? And if you move that pile of laundry, would you be shifting the energy of your soul?
It's worth thinking about.
Before we go, we have to give credit where it is due. The incredible insights we discussed today come from the Seth Material, specifically the Early Sessions Book 4, and it's published by the New Awareness Network.
And this is just one session out of hundreds. If this piqued your interest, you owe it to yourself to go to the source. We highly encourage you to study the Seth Material books. You can find them and a wealth of other information at the New Awareness Network website and bookstore.
That is at sethcenter.com/year early sessions.
Go check it out. Seriously, there is a whole universe in there waiting for you.
It's a deep dive that never ends. Until next time, friends, keep looking inward.
And keep dreaming, because it's just as real as this.